Hi, I'm Jim Gray. I'm a professional real estate agent and a professional real estate agent coach. And in the last 15 months, I've spoken to 537 agents. That's right, 537. And the subject of these conversations had to do primarily with business growth. These agents were chatting with me about strategies to grow their businesses, and we talked about a far-ranging list of subjects. But can I tell you what really was coming up last year, as you might imagine, is what could be the benefits of moving my license to a digital brokerage. If there's one thing that the pandemic taught us was that agents don't necessarily need as much physical support as perhaps they thought. Business went on. It was challenging, but even traditional companies made a big switch to providing a lot of support rather than physically, but digitally. So the question has come up, hey, is there an advantage to actually moving to a brokerage that has as its core business design that of a digital framework? So what I've been doing is looking at 3 of the main digital brokerages in the country today that agents have to choose from and that come up the most often when I'm having my conversations. And the one we're talking about today is Real Brokerage. Now, before I get too much into the weeds and the details of Real, there are 5 criteria, okay, that every agent really needs to evaluate any brokerage that they're thinking about joining, physical or digital. However, these 5 characteristics in particular, I think, are important when you're thinking about joining a digital brokerage, or perhaps you're thinking about going from one to another, okay? So the first is the comp plan. Now, this sort of seems like a duh, right? But may I say that when you're thinking about the comp plan, you really want to think about not only what's good for you today, but what's good for you in the near term, how you see your business, say, a year or 2 years from now. And then is the comp plan good for you in the longer term, where you see your business 7, 8, 10 years from now? The question is, does the comp plan grow with your business? And does the comp plan have additional sources of revenue? Now, all comp plans are fine, right? None of them are bad or wrong. The question is, does the comp plan at the brokerage you're considering, does it match your goals today, in the future, and in your long-term future, okay? And I'm going to walk you through how to look at that, okay? So compensation plan, very important. It's the number 1 thing on the list. Number 2, though, is business tools, okay? So look, the days of just kind of keeping it all in your head are largely over, especially given the fact that we are in such a tight market, and this market is likely to remain tight for a long time. So what this means is you've got to be in contact with, right, and nurturing relationships with a far larger universe of people than we've ever had to in the past. The thing about tools in real estate, and I'm guessing this has been your experience, is, dude, there is a lot of them, right? There is a lot to choose from. And it could literally make your head spin around. And I've experienced this. Maybe you have. It's like you don't know what to choose, right? And it can paralyze you. So a good broker many times ought to simplify this for you, right? So the question when thinking about any brokerage, but a digital brokerage in particular, is what are the tools? How do they work? How are they all integrated? How are you going to train and support me to use the tools? And, very important, what do they cost? I can say, and I would consider myself fairly tech forward, but I can tell you that what I expect from a broker is, tell me what the best technology is. Just tell me what it is, right? You have more resources and time and people to test and tweak it. Tell me what is the best. And then tell me what the best practices are. And then let me build my business on top of that. I don't want to have to necessarily go out there and try to figure it out. Now, you may like that. By the way, that's completely fine. But the thing I would have you consider is, one of the values of any brokerage, but a digital brokerage in particular, is they give you a tool set that is put together, ready to work, and is cost effective for you, the agent. All right, next is training. Okay, so this is critical. I'm guessing that if you're watching this video, you might be a stone cold beginner and you're worried, is there enough training and enough of the right training? You might be somebody that's trying to figure out, how do I get from 10 to 20 transactions, or someone who's at, how do I get from 40 to 60, or how do I get from 70 to 100? Is there training, coaching? Is there masterminds for that? That's a good question to ask. Again, when it comes to training in real estate, like technology, I mean, there are a zillion different choices, and trust me, none of them are that inexpensive, right? You can spend a million bucks on training. So when it comes to a broker, again, having excellent training for where you are at all points in your real estate career is an advantage. And you want to look at what training there is, how the training is delivered, and what is the quality of the training. These are important considerations, because whatever the brokerage doesn't offer, you're going to have to go figure out on your own. And when you're figuring out on your own, that is typically very, very expensive. Trust me, I know. I think by this time I've literally spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars just on coaching products. Okay, agent support. In this question of, is a digital brokerage right for me? You really have to think through this. You have to ask yourself, are you the kind of person that can feel supported when you're never physically with a broker or an agent services coordinator or some other concierge who's helping you, a transaction coordinator helping you with a transaction, okay? If you are the kind that needs to be with people, a digital brokerage may not be the right choice. But if you're the kind that's like, well, if I can get the support I need, I think I can live with not physically having a space to work in with this support provider, then a digital brokerage might be good for you. So the questions you have to be asking is, what does the support look like? How easily and quickly will I get what I need? Very important questions. And then finally, the company, right? So when you're considering a brokerage, digital brokerages in particular, the question is there, what level, what degree of brand identity does that company possess in the country? Is it the kind of brand identity where you'd walk in and people go, oh yeah, I recognize that company? Or is it the kind of thing where they've never heard of the company, so you're going to be winning all of your listings and your buyer appointments just on your personal salesmanship, assuming that people are going to pick you first and the brokerage is secondary, right? Either way is fine. You just have to know, what kind of cat are you? And then you make your choice accordingly, okay? Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about Real's compensation plan. Okay, so it's very simple, very straightforward. It's an 85-15 split. So immediately what you see here is Real is letting agents keep the majority of the paycheck. Very big deal. For those of you who've been around a little bit and have been at more traditional brokerages, you know that it's not uncommon to start at like a 70-30, right? And 70-30 is not bad, but trust me, 85-15 is better, right? So 85-15 split and with a $12,000 cap. So what that means is, once you've contributed $12,000 in company dollar to Real, your commission, boom, goes to 100%. 100% commission, even better than 85-15, right? Okay. Now, once you cap, though, another fee shows up. It's your post-cap transaction fee of $225. So the commission split now goes to 100%, but then you are paying a $225 transaction fee. That transaction fee will cap at $6,000. So once you've paid $6,000 in post-cap transaction fees, that fee disappears. There is a flat annual fee of $500. So each fiscal year, you will pay another $500 flat. Now that comes out of your first transaction. So it's not like you write a check for it, but it is going to come out of your first check. So you just got to be aware of that. And then finally, the CRM fee. So we'll get to this a little later on. I'm going to go through some of the technology, including the CRM. Real has a partnership with a very good CRM, I think. The CRM is optional, but it's not free. So I'm assuming that you're going to buy the CRM, which is $35 a month, which is really nothing, right? And may I say, right, an agent without a CRM in today's real estate market is like a carpenter without a hammer. You really can't do the job without it, okay? So let's just assume that each year you'll have your CRM. It'll cost you $420, nothing. Now I'm just going to pause here, right? This is where agents, I find, can get really wound around the axle. Oh, so many fees, right? The best way to determine are the fees reasonable, or what really is the expense that the fees present to you as the agent, is to look at the fees in a scenario. Okay, so I've lost my mouse. Let's run a scenario, shall we? Okay. So go with me on this for a second, all right? Look at this little table over here. Let's just say you did 10 transactions your first year with Real. Let's assume that you work in a market where the average sale price is $250,000. And let's also assume that your average commission per transaction is 3%, okay? So 250,000 times 3% is 7,500. So your average gross commission before you pay fees or splits is $7,500, okay? $250,000 right now is the country's average. It's actually on the low side, so these numbers probably for where you are conservative, but you'll get the idea here. Okay, so you did 10 transactions in this scenario, and your gross commission is $75,000. You have an 85-15 split with Real, so you paid Real out $11,250. You didn't cap, so you had no post-cap transaction fees. You paid your $500 annual flat fee, and let's assume that we're at the end of the year looking back, so you had your CRM, you paid for it all 12 months, so you paid out $420 there. So you've grossed $75,000. Your fees all into Real were $12,000, and you netted out $63,000. So Real as a brokerage cost you 16%. Or another way to look at it is you got to keep 84 cents of every dollar that came in. We can stop right there. That's a pretty good scenario. But let's just say that you have bigger ambitions than just 10 transactions a year, right? All right, so let's take 10. Let's say you did 2 transactions a month, just 2, right? Trust me, in my first year in real estate, I did 57. So if I did 57 and I didn't hardly know what I was doing, I know that you can do 24. All right, so let's run this scenario again. 24 transactions times $7,500 per transaction is $180,000. Now in this scenario, you cap. So your 15% you contributed to the company, and you capped out at $12,000. Then your commission went to 100%. Your $225 post-cap transaction fee at that point kicked in, and you paid it on 13 transactions. So you paid the company 12. You paid an additional about $3,000 in post-cap transaction fees, and you paid your annual flat fee of $500, and you had your CRM for a year, so you paid $420 there. Okay, so you grossed 180. You paid out about 16,000, and you netted 164, and the brokerage cost you 9%. So in this scenario, you're keeping 91 cents of every dollar. Okay, so now what you see here is this is the power of a capping model, and this is why I like it. As your business goes up, as it increases in production, the cost of the brokerage goes down because it caps, right? The contribution caps. So I like that. We'll do one more scenario, okay? So again, keep an eye on your net, keep an eye on what your broker costs. Let's just say that you're a superstar and you get to 3 transactions a month. Well, at 36, here's what this scenario not at 6, at 36. Okay, my computer is being weird. Come on, computer. You can do it. Really? Okay. All right, hold on. Oh, I see. Did I do this? What did I do? There we go. 36. Okay. These numbers get interesting now, right? On 36 transactions, you gross 270. Your fees are about, 18,000 and change. You net out 250, and the brokerage costs you 7. Okay, so that is the power of a capping model. And even though it might feel like there's a lot of fees in there, um, at the end of the day, it's okay if you look at all the fees in context of the scenario, right? Of a scenario. Okay, so that is kind of how to look at, I think, at the fee structure of Real. Okay, now Real, though, is a company that also has additional ways to make money. And the next is their revenue sharing model. So or I should say Real, like any brokerage, wants to grow. What they don't do is put a lot of money towards marketing. What they do is they take those dollars that they would normally put towards marketing the company, and they give it back to the agents in the form of rev share. So they have a network marketing model, and you can get paid on 5 levels. And here is that table. So I'm going to go through this a little bit. Don't let this make your head explode, because at the end of the day, you might be thinking, well, I'm not going to recruit. And the answer is, yeah, that's fine. You don't have to recruit. However, probably this has happened to you. You're going to be doing transactions out there. You're going to run into agents that might be good for the brokerage that you like. Why not introduce them to the brokerage that you like? If you can get paid on their production, why wouldn't you, right? Wouldn't it be good just to have the option? So what I do like about Real is you do get that option. Here's how this works. What they're saying is if you have an agent on your level 1 that you personally sponsored, you have the opportunity to earn or you have the opportunity to earn 5% of their gross commission. So I want you to think about something. At 5%, if the agent you invited to the company, if they capped, meaning they paid in $80,000, that'll produce a $12,000 cap. 5% of that is $4,000. That agent will pay out to you from the company $4,000. Not bad, right? Once you sponsor 5 agents, going back now, once you sponsor 5 agents, you're going to unlock the second level, right? So if the agents you bring in invite agents, you can get paid on the agents on your second tier if you've got 5 agents in your first tier, and then so on, right? You can get paid on the third tier if you've got 10 agents. So once you get 10 agents in your front line, you can get paid on agents on your first tier, your second tier, and now your third tier, and so on. And this goes down 5 levels, okay? So and there's a little caveat here that you have to have producing agents. So you're gonna unlock levels by the agents that you sponsoring in doing at least 2 transactions a year, which is a pretty low bar. So I want you to think about something, right? If you're in this business for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, how many agents do you think you might invite? How many agents do you think you might do business with? How many of those agents, based on your enthusiasm for whatever company you're with, might join the company based on your enthusiasm, and they love the company, and they start inviting agents, right? So again, just like a compensation plan, you know what I mean, or a capping model for your splits, I like a capping model. I like having an incentive in place for agents to invite other agents, because this money can get serious over time. It's not a short-term play, it's a long-term play. But let me ask you something. Do you have an idea that at some point you'd like to retire out of real estate? And retire in a way where you can make as much money as you are now, but you don't have to do transactions anymore. Sounds kind of like heaven, right? Well, having a rev share plan is one of the ways that you can, create that future scenario for yourself. Okay, so this is the rev share plan for Real. Okay, Real is also publicly traded, so they are going to give you stock awards for certain types of performance. So not only, right, do you have a comp plan that gives you the opportunity to cap and go to 100%, and they're going to reward you with sharing the revenue of agents that you invite to the company, but they're going to also give you increasing bits of equity in the company so you can be an owner, right? All right, so the first way is stock purchases. So you can purchase the stock along the way. You can take 5% of your commissions and you can purchase stock. Now here's what Real does. If you hold the stock for a year, they will give you another stock award of 25% of that stock purchase. So they want to incentivize you to hold the stock. So, you know, now it might be good to do some research and you can kind of see where real stock is going. It kind of makes sense. You buy some stock now, you hold on to it for a year, hopefully the stock goes up, and they give you 25% additional stock awards for that purchase, so you get more stock at a higher value than when you originally purchased it. So it's a nice incentive, right? After you cap, Real will let you take 10% of your pre-tax gross commission and buy stock, and if you hold that stock for a year, they'll match it with a 50% grant. Okay, so essentially what Real is saying is we'll allow you to buy the stock with your commissions. If you hold it, we're going to give you additional free stock after a year. And again, if you're going to be with a company long term and you believe in the company and the stock price is going the right direction, this is a nice way to begin to build wealth slowly over time. They're also going to give you stock as an incentive to attract agents. So when you cap, you're going to earn stock. When you attract agents to the brokerage, they're going to give you stock. When the agents that you've attracted to the brokerage, when they do closes, get their first close, you're going to get stock. Okay? So, you know, they want to incentivize you to purchase the stock and hold it. They want to incentivize you to attract agents. And again, there is the Elite Agent Program. Remember that post-cap transaction fee of $225? Once you hit $6,000, that fee goes away and they consider you elite. And what they're going to do is they're going to give you that stock back, give you $12,000 back in stock. So essentially, you can be at 100% the entire time if you think of it that way. So at Real, there are 3 nice ways for you to build wealth over time. Buy and sell commissions, that's going to pay for your life today. Revenue share, which is going to pay for your life in the future. And stock awards, same thing, potentially building wealth for the life that you're going to live in the future. All right, so it's a nice 3-legged stool, I think, for a real estate agent.